Have you ever wondered why your belly button is in the center of your body, yet no one ever mentions it? It's strange. When you're a child, you look at it, touch it, hide it, and as time goes on, you forget about it. But it's still there, a scar, a mark, a reminder of something that once connected you to life. When you were born, the first thing they did was cut a cord. Not your skin, not your body. They cut the cord that was your direct link to the source, to the food, and to the pulse that kept you alive before you had a name. But beyond the physical act, that cut marked the beginning of forgetfulness. No one ever told you that this spot, where your belly button lies, was more than just a memory of birth. It was your antenna, a living antenna, able to feel, sense, and guide you. The ancients knew how to honor and protect it, but over time, we turned it off, not out of malice, but indifference. That indifference became the norm, part of our culture, part of the silence. But for some reason, you're listening to this now, perhaps because something inside you hasn't forgotten, something still wants to reconnect. And as you go along, you'll realize that what you thought was taken from you is still there, waiting to be awakened. Have you ever experienced something simple, like a part of your body, starting to mean something new without anyone explaining it? Like when you look in the mirror one day, and something has changed. It's not something outside, but a shift inside, a silence, a question you didn't have before. That's when you start to remember things no one taught you. And it begins with a question the ancients asked, but that we stopped asking a long time ago: why is the belly button in the exact center of the body? Not in the heart, not in the brain, but right in the middle, at the point of balance. Ancient civilizations knew that this center wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't just a mark. It was a doorway, an axis, the place where all energy comes together. The Vedas spoke of the Navachakra, a center of power that could guide consciousness up or down. They didn't call it the belly button, like we do today. They referred to it as the inner sun, the central fire, because they understood that it wasn't just about mind or body. It was where the two met. In Mesoamerican cultures, the belly button wasn't just a symbol, it was literal. The original name of Mexico, Mexico, translates to, in the belly button of the moon. What kind of people named their whole civilization after the belly button? Those who understood that this spot represents origin, connection, and root. The ancient Egyptians knew this too. In many of their drawings of the human body as a spiritual map, they marked the center of the abdomen with solar symbols or spirals, not for decoration, but for its deep meaning. It was a language, a visual clue to remind us that from there, the connection to the stars was born. Yet, we cover it, dress it, hide it, ignore it. When was the last time you touched your belly button with true attention? When did you honor it? When did you feel it breathe? We don't do it because we were taught it was irrelevant, just an old scar with no real purpose. But for those who still remember, there's nothing more functional than that center because it's from there that everything else is balanced. From there, you breathe in. From there, the axis is formed. In Tibetan rituals, monks place a warm stone on their belly button during meditation. It's not for the physical body, it's to awaken the inner heat, the subtle fire the ancients called tumo. This heat doesn't come from the chest, it comes from the lower center, the point that connects the higher with the lower. And what happens when a person loses that center? They become disoriented, their focus shifts to their head, they lose connection with the earth, and live in the mind, but not in the body. They seek outside what was right there in the middle. And I don't blame you. I don't blame anyone because we weren't taught this. But that doesn't mean it's lost, because the body doesn't forget, it knows, it remembers. Sometimes, it only takes a single intention to wake that memory up. Touch your belly button now, not to understand it, just to listen to it. Because maybe it's not just your origin there. Maybe the antenna that once connected you to everything is still alive and can do so again. When you're a child, everything is connection. You feel before you think, you perceive things you can't explain. You know when someone loves you, even if they don't say it. You sense what's going to happen, even when no one tells you. It's not magic. It's the body, its presence, it's something built in, as if we were made with a kind of silent radar, an internal antenna that picks up what can't be seen. And then, over time, it fades. Not suddenly, not with trauma. It fades like a candle going out at dawn. First, it's faint, then forgotten. But what if it wasn't a coincidence? What if that cut they made when you were born wasn't just biological, but also symbolic? Think about it. As soon as you arrive in the world, before you even breathe on your own, someone takes a tool and cuts the cord that connected you to your source. No words, no ritual, no farewell, just a technical, precise, functional act, but also cold. It interrupts a relationship that's been with you since the beginning, a bond between your body and its root. What was once a flow becomes a closure. What was a channel becomes a scar, and what was a center becomes forgetfulness. From that moment, a slow process of disconnection begins. No one tells you that this point holds something more. No one teaches you to listen to it. No one speaks to you about what was there. And you, without guidance, learn to live without looking at that center. You learn to ignore it, but the body never forgets. That cut wasn't just physical, it was cultural, spiritual, energetic. Think about how many times since then, you've been taught to rise. Elevate your consciousness, think clearly, open your mind. Everything points to the head, to the superior. But what about your root? Who taught you to look within from the center? Who taught you to go down, to feel, to inhabit the place where it all began? Modern spirituality pushes us towards the stars, but forgets that the first antenna isn't up there, it's right in the middle of the body, where we were cut. And I'm not talking about dark conspiracies, nor am I blaming doctors or science. I'm talking about something subtler, something deeper, a collective forgetfulness passed down through generations, as if we've all been disconnected from something essential, and no one remembered we were once connected. Because yes, they taught us how to use our minds, but not how to connect with our center. They taught us how to walk, but not how to root ourselves. They taught us how to speak, but not how to listen to the signal coming from within. And that's where they took the antenna away, not by cutting it, but by making us believe it never existed. What happens when you stop using something? It atrophies, it falls asleep, it becomes an echo without a voice. That's what happened to our internal antenna. They didn't tear it away with force, they covered it with silence, and that silence became the norm. But now, the noise begins, or rather, the buzzing, because there are moments when something inside you begins to vibrate for no obvious reason. A tingling, an emptiness, a feeling that something is missing, but you can't quite figure out what. And that may not be anxiety, it's a signal. The antenna trying to wake up. Yes, even though it's been asleep for years, it's still there, waiting for someone to remember it, someone to touch it, someone to listen. You don't need impossible techniques, gurus, or years of practice. You just need something we should never have lost. Intention. Presence, breathing, and the body. Because while the world tells you everything important is out there, something inside you still whispers, I'm here, I never left, you just turned me off. And now, you're about to learn how to turn it back on. Sometimes it's not about learning something new, but about remembering what you already knew before the noise of the world made you forget. When you truly listen to the body, it doesn't respond with words, it responds with sensations, pulses, with a kind of silent certainty that can't be explained but can be felt. That's what happens when you begin to touch your belly button with a different intention, not as a mark, not as a remnant, but as a center, because it's an energetic, emotional, and vibrational center that's been ignored for years. But now that you've reached this point, something in you is already lit. And maybe you didn't know, but that antenna is still there. It didn't die. It was just waiting for your attention. We're not talking about magic or technique here. We're talking about returning to the body, inhabiting your center with a presence that you've forgotten how to feel. You don't need to do much, just stop. Yes, like that. Don't keep looking at the screen for just a second. Don't try to understand. Close your eyes if you can and place your right hand on your abdomen. Feel your belly button without thinking about anything. Just breathe. Do it gently. Not like an exercise, but as if you're coming home after a long journey. That first exhale is already waking something up, because when you place your fingers on that point and breathe inward, you're activating what the ancients knew. Breathing is the key, the body, the door. And the belly button, the lock, inhales from the earth. Imagine that a golden thread rises from the center of the planet, travels through your feet, your legs, and reaches that central point in your belly. Feel how it winds, how it anchors, how it lights up. And as you exhale, imagine that same thread stretches upwards, climbs your spine, passes through your chest, your throat, your forehead, and exits through the crown of your head like an antenna stretching between two worlds. Do it 3 times. No rush, no obligation, just presence. That's the antenna I'm talking about. That cord that once was physical can now be vibrational. This isn't imagination, it's energetic biology, it's embodied spirituality. The human body has thousands of nerve endings in the abdomen. The enteric nervous system that resides right there in your belly isn't just a transmitter, it's an autonomous intelligence. And every time you breathe from the center, you're activating that twisted network. You're reactivating a circuit. You're saying, I'm here. I'm in my body. I'm in my axis. You don't have to do it perfectly. You don't have to do it every day. It's enough to remember it when you need it. When you feel like everything outside is pulling you, when the world fragments you, when the mind drags you. Return to the center. Place your hand, breathe. Remember, and if you want to take it a step further, make this a small ritual. You don't need incense, you don't need candles, you just need your body, your breath, and your intention. Place both hands on your belly button, forming a circle with your fingers. Close your eyes and repeat softly or in the silence of your mind something simple but real: I reconnect from my center to the earth and the sky. I'm back. You can repeat it 3 times or just once. It doesn't matter how you do it, what matters is that you feel it, because the more you do it, the more that antenna activates, not outward, but inward. And the most amazing thing is that you start to notice things, small shifts, signs, synchronicities, clearer choices, a silence that's not emptiness, but a sense of direction. And then, you understand. It wasn't a practice, it was a way of returning to yourself, a way to remind yourself that you were never disconnected, you simply forgot how to listen. And that point, that belly button you never thought much about, becomes your guiding light. Your axis, your heartbeat. That's your antenna, and now it's alive. Something starts to change when you wake up a part of your body you had forgotten. It's not about seeing lights or hearing voices. It's simpler, deeper. It's like something inside you suddenly organizes itself, as if thoughts are no longer as loud. As if emotions no longer overwhelm you like they did before, not because they vanish, but because now you know where to look at them from. And that, from where, is the key, because before, maybe you lived from the mind, from reaction, from urgency. But now, you live from the center. Do you notice the difference? You're no longer so far away, you no longer seek validation as much. You no longer need to chase after answers because something inside you, something quiet, firm, stable, begins to hold you from within. The curious thing is that it's not about control. It's not that you now dominate your emotions, it's that they no longer confuse you. You feel them, but they don't drag you because you're anchored, because your antenna is switched on. And that antenna is not just an idea, it's an axis, a channel that connects the deepest part of you with everything around you. And here's where many are surprised because they thought this kind of work would disconnect them from the world, but the opposite happens. When you return to the center, you return to the world, but with a new perspective. You start to feel things differently. The body is no longer a machine, it's a temple. Spaces are no longer just places, they're fields of energy. People are no longer obstacles, they're mirrors. And life is no longer a battle, it's a channel through which you move, guided by an intelligence that doesn't come from the outside, but from within. And all of this begins at the belly button. Yes, it sounds small, almost ridiculous. How can something so simple make such a difference? Because it's not the belly button itself, it's what it represents, what it activates. That point is where your two fundamental lines meet, the vertical one, connecting you to the earth and the sky, and the horizontal one, connecting you to the present. And when those two lines meet, the 0 point is formed, the axis, the place where you can live your life without getting lost in it, where you can observe without running away, act without forcing, feel without sinking. And of course, there will be days when you forget, days when everything pulls you away, when you react, fragment, and scatter, but now you know how to return. You're no longer at the mercy of chaos because you have a center, and that center is physical, real, sacred. And it doesn't matter if the world doesn't understand it, if no one else can see it, because you feel it, and that's enough. Living from there doesn't need approval, it needs presence, and that presence is what transforms everything. When you're connected to your internal antenna, you don't need to control life. You just listen to it, and from that place, you act, not in a hurry, not in fear, but with purpose, because now you know where you come from. And the most beautiful thing about all this is that it's not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you already were before the noise, before forgetfulness, because that antenna was always yours. You just needed to touch it, breathe with it, and listen to what it had to tell you. And what it says is simple, you're home. You can now live from yourself. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but something has changed. Not in the world, not outside of you, but inside. A new vibration, a deeper silence, a fresher, more alive energy. No one placed that there, the video didn't bring it to you, you woke it up. This is what happens when you walk back toward a forgotten place. You don't end up in a new location, you return to yourself. Even though the world out there continues with its noise, demands, screens, and urgencies, you're no longer spinning in the same way. You're in the center, and the center is not just a physical spot, it's a state, a bodily presence, a silent agreement between your breath, your body, your soul, and something more. That something is what the ancients always honored. The mystery, the channel, the antenna. Through this journey, you discovered that this antenna wasn't a mere metaphor or esoteric idea, it's real. It exists within you, in your belly button, the spot where there was once a cord, and where now, there's a memory. And now you know that even though the cord was cut, the connection still endures. It's not visible, but it's felt, and what's felt is the most real thing there is. This is why this is not a farewell. It's an anchor. A whisper that reminds you that you no longer need to search so far. You don't need to chase every signal, every theory, every new practice. There's a place inside you that already knows. That place is quiet, simple, but alive. And if you ever feel lost again, disconnected, or fragmented, remember this gesture. Place your hand on the center. Breathe. Listen, there's no clearer voice than that. It doesn't come from fear, or duty, it comes from your antenna, the same one that connected you to life before you even knew how to speak. And now, you can use it to speak with life, not with words, but with intention, because that central point isn't just yours. It's the same for all beings. It's where we become equal, where there's no more separation, where the invisible network that connects us begins. And if this is what they always tried to make us forget, that we were never truly disconnected, they only convinced us we were alone. But we're not. We never were. The channel was just asleep, and now you've awakened it. You don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to prove it. Just live it. Because living from the center shows in your eyes, your decisions, the way you walk, touch, and simply exist. And if the world ever asks you what's changed, you don't have to explain it. Just smile, touch your belly button, and remember, I reconnected from the beginning, from the place where everything began.